I just love coffee. How about you? Good morning, everyone. How's everybody doing? KJ sitting out here on the porch. The spring of life is here, y'all. It's so beautiful out here today. I hope you're having a good morning, day, or afternoon. Hello, Kathy Mama Bear. What? Somebody's got a chilly walk going on. Hope, Grace, just me. Good morning, Belma. Hello, Isabella. How are you? All right, y'all. Well, okay, Jay. Good morning, Tina. How are you? Can y'all imagine that? About 20 years ago, you'd have never thought that you could get, a Zoom call wasn't even really on the table there, you know? Hello, Edie Ruth. Hi, Nettie of Norway. It's 32 degrees, says Hope Grace. Well, folks, I guess I was wrong again. I don't guess Lori's going to testify, although, Nate Eaton and Justin Lum are kind of putting it out there that she might change her mind over the weekend. For all of you that do pray, let's pray she sits in that damn jail cell of hers and starts thinking, this is it. This is it. I'm not going to get to talk anymore. I'm going to have to go to Pocatello Women's Prison. I'm just not going to get to be out there in regular clothes anymore. I'm going to have to wear them nasty flip-flops, them orange flip-flops. Yeah. Fancy Nancy says, I just woke up, got to feed dogs and get coffee. Well, there you go. So, y'all, they're going to have jury instruction stuff today. Again, get to difficult research with Cresha K. Easton. Hello, says she should have been a detective. She can still testify. She's just torturing everyone. She likes that. She's in control of at least that. Yeah, you're right, Donna, but how about this? She can't be in control if she's being cross-examined, right? And does she really think that these jury members are not going to find her guilty? I mean, her little motion to dismiss with lack of evidence was, she had her ass nailed to the wall on that one with the judge. He said, no, a reasonable juror could, find you guilty. Now, Nettie says it's warm here in Norway. Okay, I bet it's neat over there in Norway. I never visited such a place. I bet that's a beautiful place. Edie Ruth says this is her opportunity to be a one-woman show. Yeah. But really think it through. I mean, I'm trying to. I didn't think it through. I wanted to believe that she was that narcissistic that she would take the stand. Y'all, I just don't think she's going to now. I mean, the judge told her that, you're going to have to let me know something. Right, Sam Willow. She didn't have anyone to call who she could manipulate. Think about that. She has been through all this. She even subpoenaed Larry Woodcock. And she signed, the subpoena and everything, but yet she wants to turn around and say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to the family. She has a lot to be sorry for, and it ain't no damn subpoena. It's the fact that she murdered Charles Vallow. Oh, Emmy Luce saying, I want to go to Norway so badly to stay at the Wood Nest. What is the Wood Nest? Never heard of it. And she also says, but she wants to be a star. Salmonella says Norway's so clean, too. Kathy Mama Bear says that Lori's not sorry for anything. Oh, yeah, just me. Just any little way she could, twist the knife a little bit or throw some more salt in those wounds. Just, she's got to have some form of last hoorah, right? Wow, Hope Grace says there's a herd of elk walking alongside of me. Wow. I'm assuming, Nettie, when you're saying it's so much wetter here or weather here. Emmy Lou says wood nest are these hotel rooms that are over the Bajor Thar are like a fancy tree house. Oh, okay. See, I learn something new every day. Yes, y'all. So they're going to go through jury instructions today and everything, and then Monday are supposed to be opening statements. Which you think about the whole weekend. If she doesn't decide to change her mind, she's going to be working on that closing argument. And, I don't see her changing her mind now. I really thought she would testify because I knew she wasn't going to be able to get no witnesses in. And I thought for sure she would, say, well, because I don't have any witnesses, that I need to get up here and defend myself. Isn't that what she wants to do? Isn't that what she told Keith Morrison? I gotta defend myself. Yeah, you're so damn innocent. Why not take the stand? You're so damn innocent. And there's not enough evidence. And all of this. Wouldn't it be ripe for her to take the stand? Huh? Let's Travel says, I never thought she'd testify. She's too vain. Well, see, I thought the opposite. I thought she was vain, but I thought she was so vain she would actually do it. Because she knows her goose is cooked, y'all. She does. Belma says she's doing all this for public attention. Imagine how many people are sending her money. That's a point I didn't think about. Melmac says that Lori's going to be exonerated, according to Lori, but obviously, now that I've had time to think about it, when she talks about her and Chad are going to be exonerated and there's no jail cells or nothing like that, no, her ass is going to be damn in freaking hell for all I care. Exactly, Hope Grace. Think about how many times that Lori was able to testify. Yes, the judge told the jury, don't listen to that. He would sustain it and all that. And in jury instructions, he's going to say every time that something was sustained, you can't take that into consideration what the, being sustained was all about. Well, Nettie, I'm glad that you've been hanging out for 5 years. You've seen Ole KJ get old in front of you. Good morning, Kendall. Good morning, Lindsay. Good morning, Ashley. I hope y'all are having a good morning, day, or afternoon. Yes, Donna. A jury member is going to be asking themselves, after a judge said, hey, jury, you cannot listen to anything about Tylee. Why is that? Wouldn't Tylee's testimony, and if a juror didn't know anything about it, why? She was there. I think they can put 2 and 2 together. How about y'all? Yeah, that's another thing, Kathy Mama Bear. Yes, the juror members did ask questions on and off through all this because that's what happens in these judicial proceedings in Arizona and other states as well. Not all states, but some of them. And I was hoping they would get into some real juicy questions. And perhaps there were some that the judge didn't allow. Kendall says, I keep wondering if the jury wants to know what happened to the kids. Well, how about this, Kendall? What if just one juror decides to hold everything up, and there's they couldn't all 12 agree, and then they didn't know nothing about the children's murders or Tammy's murder, and then they leave there and they go, oh my gosh, I just let a serial killer off the hook. But folks, how about this? Even if a juror does hold out, which I doubt, I think it'll be unanimous, but y'all know me, I've been wrong so many times. They would just retry her, right? I think they would. Fancy Nancy says, morning everyone. Kathy, Mama Bear, we miss you during court. So we're going to talk about what it is that the jurors are going to have to decide in terms of conspiracy to commit murder. First and foremost, even though it's not one of the charges of first-degree murder, you would think a juror member's got to first decide whether or not that was a murder. Because if they thought it was self-defense, then they can't very well get her for conspiracy to commit murder. So we're going to go through that. But before we do, there are a few people on this channel that want an update. Not just an update on the hooker, but also on what happened yesterday with Bullhorn Betty. And I'm sure some of y'all already know the results. But the reason I want to bring this into the forefront, and I've talked about it in the past, is because this is Tennessee. This is where all of this is taking place. And this has a lot to do with the difference between free speech, content creation, and such. And so, yes, Fancy Nancy, you're not going to believe the news. She had a court hearing yesterday, and I want to remind everyone that this is about the Sebastian Rogers case. And this woman had a hearing yesterday, so just let me get through this, and you'll be pleasantly surprised, or you'll be shocked, or you might just be indifferent about the whole thing. The family of missing Sumner County teen Sebastian Rogers made their case on Wednesday afternoon against a YouTuber who is covering the case. They claim Bullhorn Betty stalked and harassed their family despite them receiving, orders of protection. Christopher Proudfoot, Katie Proudfoot, and Katie's parents, the grandparents of Sebastian, received orders of protection last year, okay? Well, when they got those orders of protection, they say that she has violated those orders of protection 6 times. Because it isn't just about the 4 people that have orders of protection against her. It also has to do with Sebastian Rogers. They granted an order of protection about him as well. YouTuber Andra Griffin, also known as Bullhorn Betty, was one of those social media users. Quote, this court has received threats. This is a judge who's been presiding over this. As a result of granting the orders of protection, this judge has received threats, y'all, in which those under investigation for threats made against the bench, said Judge Ron Blanton. For those reasons alone, I will recuse myself. This judge recused himself because there's a criminal investigation going on that someone has, or some people have threatened the bench there. And I guess the question really is, who is under investigation? If it's known that it's some of Bullhorn Betty's subscribers, he doesn't say Bullhorn Betty, then that's going to prove a bigger point, y'all. It's going to prove a bigger point. So the hearing was passed on to a different judge, overseeing the alleged stalking and harassment case. And for about an hour on Wednesday, Katie and Christopher Proudfoot, the mom and stepfather of Sebastian, testified against Griffin, claiming she violated the terms of 3 orders of protection. So she violated 3 orders of protection, but she did it more than once, obviously. That's common sense. So that's 6 counts of violation of order of protection. That's some serious shit, y'all. I mean, 1 violation of an order of protection. Tennessee don't mess around with orders of protection, especially when it comes to domestic violence and all of that other stuff. But an order of protection is some serious shit, y'all. After this case is said and done, I will be going after the Proudfoots and the Bowersocks for damages, Griffin said in her YouTube video that was played in open court. Okay, what is she going to, she's threatening to sue them for what? For what? They allege that Griffin went live on YouTube in August to talk about the family, included their full names and hashtags. And, you know, some people are on the fence either way on this, y'all. But, you know, some people think a hashtag is like, oh, this hashtag, if I'm interested in something, it's going to take me to here, right? But, folks, a hashtag also alerts someone when their name is being used in a hashtag, right? Are you tagged in this video, said Assistant District Attorney General representing the Proudfoots. And Katie said, I am. Is your full name tagged in this video? Malden continued. It is, said Katie. And then Christopher Proudfoot on the stand said, Bullhorn Betty is reporting a bunch of lies. She is harassing me, harassing my family. Attorneys for both sides argued about intentions and what is included in the First Amendment. Now listen to this. This is the state of Tennessee's prosecutor here. If she didn't intend for Christopher Proudfoot to view the video, why would she hashtag Christopher Proudfoot? If she didn't intend for Katie to see the video, why hashtag Katie? Then Andra Griffin, or Bullhorn Betty's attorney, said, this is a First Amendment protected speech. There has to be some actions by Ms. Griffin to direct that to the petitioners. And the statute clearly says it's only a violation if the defendant knowingly does that. Now let's stop there. There has to be an intention to do that. Well, why don't we put that aside for a minute and ask this question? If there was perhaps a man who'd been beating the hell out of his wife, and she gets an order of protection on him, and he goes online on social media, and he puts her name in a hashtag, and he's talking and threatening to sue her or anything, right? That is a violation of order of protection because it's not just direct, it's indirect as well. In other words, it does not, to me, matter what her motive was for hashtagging. The fact that she was using their names, their full names, and anyone else that would go on her channel, an indirect way to get to Christopher and Katie is for one of her subscribers or one of these people that think Bullhorn Betty's the bee's knees to go and threaten or say mean things directly to Christopher or Katie. In other words, if that man who beat his wife, for instance, had to talk to somebody else and said how terrible and she's a liar, I didn't beat her or whatever, and they went back and talked to her and said, you're full of shit for saying he did this to you. That's indirect contact. Whether Bullhorn Betty knows her subscribers or not, she's on a social media platform. And so every time she brings them up, there is that possibility of indirectness. Now, Bullhorn Betty has an appeal pending on the issue of the hashtag. And this is new water being tread, okay? But here's the bottom line. She absolutely has to know that putting the full name on a hashtag can get back to the ones that she is supposed to not have any direct or indirect contact with. That is the capacity of that hashtag. Although many people want to say, oh, no, it ain't KJ. It just means when you see those hashtags on something and it brings you there, it's about something that you want to hear about, such as the disappearance of Sebastian Rogers. Folks, yes, it does lead you there, but it also leads the one who's got the order of protection. Not that Katie or Christopher want to watch what she has to say, but being reminded they can't go on a social media platform such as YouTube without being directed there. Even if they get on there and they're scrolling through there and their name, and it's like, oh, it's her again. They don't have to listen to what she has to say, but it's a constant reminder of her driving by their house, threatening to sue them, doing all these things. It's traumatic, regardless of what people think happened to Sebastian Rogers. Hello, Leanne Forsberg, Grammy B, Sugar Magnolia. Also, the grandparents and the Bowersocks, who she verbally accosted in public and traffic stops at a traffic light. Yeah, they've got that on video. And you know what? They also have on video where Bullhorn Betty is sitting there talking about the judge that just now recused himself. It's ironic. There is a video that she did where she's talking about the judge's grandchildren. She doesn't threaten that something bad's going to happen to the grandchildren, but she brings up the judge's grandchildren. How would the judge feel if his grandchildren, blah, blah, blah. Bringing up a judge's grandchildren? Is she really going to go there? If you knew that this woman was out here threatening and doing all these things, and now this judge has recused himself because somebody has threatened his bench, that's awful. But the news out of yesterday, because Bullhorn Betty wanted it all dismissed, she does have this appellate thing out here about free speech and the hashtag and all of that, and that's what she's hanging her hat on. But Tennessee's going to get caught up in all of this. The case is now being bound over for grand jury, y'all. There's enough. I know the standard isn't high in this hearing that they had yesterday, but it's being bound over for grand jury. And the grand jury's going to hear all this evidence, and they're going to decide whether she has what? A criminal trial. And if she does have a criminal trial, Ole KJ is here to tell you today that if she has a trial, and it'll be down the road, that Ole KJ's going to cover that. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be in the courtroom for Bullhorn Betty's criminal trial, if in fact that happens. The order of protection is still in place for all parties, and the judge ruled that Bullhorn Betty can say, this is the new judge, can say the Proudfoot's names in her coverage, but will face consequences if she steps over the line of protected speech. And therein lies what Bullhorn Betty talks about in terms of Christopher Proudfoot and Katie Proudfoot and the Bowersock. If she steps over that line, because she stopped using the hashtag last year. She found, she finally, the light bulb went off in her mind, right? Just Me says it's all fun and games until you go to jail. And by the way, it's from people that's been telling me, because I haven't heard her latest video about yesterday's court. I've heard people talk about that She is asking for more and more money for her legal team. She needs that money, y'all. She says all that money's going to go toward her legal team. And she has to have privately held attorneys because she doesn't trust any of the attorneys in Sumner County. Well, there you go. I hope that her followers are going to pony it up for her. Her coming back and forth from Florida and all that. Yeah, Mel Mac, it is tricky. And this is going to set precedent either way. This appeal, though, that she's got, if it goes the way she wants it, then all the rest is a mute issue. If the appeal is like, no, you can't charge her with violation of order of protection, all that goes away in her appeal. But everything else on this side of things are continuing to move forward. They had their hearing yesterday. There's probable cause. They're turning it over to the grand jury. The grand jury will meet. They'll hear the evidence, and they'll either indict her or they won't. If they don't indict her, it doesn't matter about her appeal because it won't move forward. If her appeal is successful, it won't move forward. But on the flip side of that, if her appeal is denied and also they indict her ass, she's going to trial. And she only has herself to blame because there were plenty of people that absolutely warned her. I warned her. I don't know if she watched my video. I know the Rays and others watched it. I even titled it Bullhorn Betty. I didn't say nothing mean to her. I just said, hey, you are barking up the wrong tree. Tennessee don't mess around. It is in the grand jury. They're investigating threats to the bench. So not only now will this be bound over to the grand jury, now another freaking tentacle of what Bullhorn Betty has done has come out that someone's threatened this original judge. And he had to recuse himself and put another judge on the bench. This is getting dirty. This is getting nasty. And I'll tell you what, when they do this criminal investigation and they find out who this is, and it has anything to do with Bullhorn Betty, their point is going to be proven about, okay, Bullhorn Betty, you didn't want to threaten this judge. Your intent was not to do it. But because you're spewing your shit about Sumner County and how the judge is so crooked and all this and that, there are consequences to your free speech. Everybody can say whatever the hell they want to. But there are consequences. There are good consequences and there are bad consequences that could happen. If you want to say it out loud, you better be ready for the pushback. And of course, First Amendment does not cover if you're going to stand into a movie theater and yell fire or whatever, or you incite violence. Well, I guess the question is, when Bullhorn Betty is spewing all this shit that she has no evidence for, that Christopher Proudfoot or Katie Proudfoot did anything to Sebastian. These are her theories. But she's talking like she just knows. She just knows. There's no words like alleged put in it or nothing. She is riling people up, and she can't control how her subscribers, her followers, or some dumbass who doesn't even know her just happens to click on there like trolls get on here and decide, oh, I just heard her say something bad about, these people, and it pisses me off, and I am going to do something about it. She can't control that. She can't control that. Just Me says you don't threaten anyone, especially a sitting judge. Also, somebody recorded inside the courtroom on one of the hearings. They are investigating that also. Possibly the ease. X-Files says Tennessee law saved my niece's life. Wow. So that's where that stands, and ultimately something's going to come out of it. Either through the appeal of that, her free speech stuff, or she'll not get indicted, or she will get indicted. Regardless, there's the possibility that she will go to trial. And if she does, Ole KJ's going to go up to Sumner County, and I'm going to report on it. I'm going to have Wayne get me a hotel room up there, and I'm going to be up there every damn day. That's what I'm going to do. I've never done that before, so I'm going to do it. So, but it might not happen. I mean, her appeal might be successful. The grand jury might not indict. So, it's up in the air. Y'all don't be breaking laws even for YouTube content. Act like you are in church at the courthouse. So let's get to it, y'all. Okay? Some have talked about what evidence really is there that she committed conspiracy to commit murder. Well, in order to know that, and I'm sure many of you already know this, but the key elements that are codified in the statute in Arizona on conspiracy to commit murder, key elements have to, and this is what they'll get when they go back. The jurors are going to have to look at the law. The judge is going to instruct them to look at the law. The key elements, okay? And we'll try to apply it. Maybe I can get some help from all of y'all. The key elements of conspiracy to commit murder in Arizona is, number one, there's got to be an agreement. There must be a mutual understanding or agreement between two or more people to commit murder. This agreement doesn't need to be explicitly stated. So anyone is saying, well, KJ, they never say in the text minutes, we're going to kill Charles, or we're going to shoot Charles, or anything. It does not have to be explicitly stated. But it must be a clear indication of intent to act together. All right? Well, okay. What did we see in the evidence, y'all? Well, Lori says on July 9th, just 2 days before the murder, she says, thank you for standing by me, talking to Alex Cox. That's two people, right? It's all coming to a head this week. I will be like Nephi, I am told, and so will you. Now, if it took someone saying on text message or recording or something that we're going to kill him in order to get a conviction for first-degree murder or conspiracy to commit murder, then think about how many people would get off scot-free. So what I am saying is that, first of all, do you really think that Lori and Alex are going to sit there and just openly talk about? She thinks she's a lowercase g. She wants Alex to believe, whatever shit she's spewing to him. So why talk that way? This has got to be religious stuff. This has got to look noble. This has got to look like it's a mission. It was meant to be. Charles is already dead. Yada, yada, yada. He's got a zombie named Ned Schneider in him. It can't be, we just want to kill him for the money. Okay? It can't just be that. Not even for Lori. In her mind, perhaps she's thinking, I just want to murder him and get the money. And I wouldn't put it past her to be thinking that. I don't know her. I can't read her mind. But you thinking she's going to go on with this bullshit and self-delusion of her being a lowercase g and she's going to be like Nephi and all that. She's not thinking that way. She's thinking, Charles is already dead. She's trying to justify it in her own mind because she couldn't justify how she treated Tylee over the years. And that's why Tylee ends up dead. That's why Tylee has ended up being blamed, because no matter how much delusion Lori wanted to have when she looked at Tylee about her part and how she verbally, mentally abused Tylee over the years, and in my opinion, she was making her sick. Lori knew. Lori knew what she had done to Tylee. She couldn't get away from that. The only way she could get away from it is murder her, get her out of the picture so she don't have to look at her daughter and know that she screwed up her own daughter. And God bless Tylee. Even though her mother did all these things to her and lied to her, planting these false memories and using her to do whatever, her money and everything else, Tylee still tried to be a shining light for JJ and her friends and her family. But Glory couldn't stand that. Couldn't stand it that Tylee was a better woman than she would ever be. And she knew Tylee knew that Lori wasn't all this bull crap. Tylee probably thought it was one big joke. Just as her family, the Cox family, they just went along with Lori's stupid stuff. Well, look where that got them. So there has to be an agreement. And I think that's right there. The agreement, on top of that, of the actual words, were going to be like Nephi. I mean, she could sit there and throw this into the jurors' minds that, there's 4 Nephis and there's 10 stories about Nephi, and I could have meant any of that. But everyone that this fella on the stand said that was LDS, they all said the same story along with Adam Cox. So she can try to confuse the jurors all she wants. And really, I don't know what a jury member is thinking, but I was thinking, okay, what if that wouldn't have happened that day? What if that was all premeditated, which I believe was? It's showing very clearly there was already an agreement to do this. Charles was moving on. He went out on a date the night before. He was going to rent him another place and do all these things. He was moving on with his life. But what if it wouldn't have happened that day? Well, say Charles drove up, honked the horn, and he was not going to go in that house. They couldn't conceal murdering him, so he got off scot-free. JJ walks out, gets in there, he goes, takes him over to the hotel to have breakfast, takes him to school, brings him back, doesn't go in the house. Well, I mean, when would it have happened if it wouldn't have happened that day? Because Alex was over there. He'd been brought over there with a gun and clips of ammo. I mean, she'd already expressed to Melanie Pulowski and her brother Alex that things are going to be different after this week. She'd already convinced Alex that we're going to be like Nephi. Well, what if Charles wouldn't have walked in the house? And I know this is armchair quarterback, but I'm trying to prove a bigger point. How would it have played out if he'd have never been killed? Think about that. And the reason I ask that to you is because this was premeditated. They absolutely knew that he would come in for JJ. I don't know what the routine was since they're split, where he was living in Houston and she was living in Arizona. But I know that she went to Houston briefly to be with him. She slept in JJ's room. Charles might have thought in the back of his heart and mind that maybe there's a chance that we can get her help and she'll be back to the Lori that I love and we'll continue to have our family and all this and that. He rents her a house in Arizona, gives her her way, lets her know he's there to be supportive of her. He's even basically broadcasting, I'm renting you this house in Arizona just to let you know that you don't have to be in my bed or act in a certain way in order for me to take care of you, Lori. I'm trying to prove to you that I love you and that I want to trust you and all of these things. She buttered him up briefly. If she would have went to Houston and continued, I don't want to be with you or whatever, then why would he have rented her a house in Arizona? Some would say, well, KJ, if she was mean to him in Houston and she wasn't acting like she wanted to get back with him, then he knew he had to rent her somewhere because she's going to go after alimony anyway and support for JJ anyway. Well, look at it like this. What came before all this? Joe Ryan. Now, you can say, yes, he was murdered. No, he wasn't murdered, whatever. That's beside the point in this case. Well, my point is, she knew she would get money. She would get money at least from that. But on top of it all now, she thinks she's got $1 million. And by the way, did she show any evidence, any tangible empirical evidence of a $2 million life insurance policy on her? First of all, she's got to sign it. Wouldn't she have a copy of this shit? Charles Vallow couldn't take out a life insurance policy on her without her signature. Where the hell's her copy? Where is it? Donna makes a great point. They tried to take Tammy out once. It didn't work. They tried it again and succeeded. So that is common sense that somehow, some way, that they would have to try again if they wouldn't have gotten Charles to come in the house. See, that was the ticker. He had to come in the house so that it could be hidden from other neighbors and people on the street. They had to do that. So I believe there's enough for an agreement, and I'm sure these jurors agree there's enough, that Lori and Alex, and I believe Chad as well, which, again, y'all, it's beyond me. It's beyond me that they didn't charge Chad Daybell. But there was at least an agreement between Alex and Lori. The next key element of conspiracy to commit murder in Arizona is intent. The parties must have the intent to engage in criminal activity, specifically the murder. But how about this? How about insurance fraud? Because that's what I would say would be the first thing that they intended to do. Well, they intended to murder him, but in doing that, they would be committing fraud on the insurance company. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't self-defense. And it's criminal. It's criminal to absolutely shoot someone, and when the forensic evidence absolutely shows he was laying on the floor with a sword wound, indentation on the floor where he was laying flat on his back. At least one person involved in the conspiracy must take a tangible step to advance the plan. This can be anything from purchasing a weapon to contacting the victim, and Lori absolutely did the overt act by getting Charles to come over there to pick JJ up. Even if it was Charles's idea, how about this? If it was Charles's idea, Lori, I'm coming over there on July 11th and I'm going to pick up JJ to take him to school. Is that considered an overt act because he's the one that... No, she could have said, no, I'm taking him to school. No big deal. Remember this, Adam said it. They're planning something. They're planning something. So I believe in the agreement. I believe in the intent and the overt act. But if you want to put that on Alex, the overt act is he's bringing his freaking gun over there where a autistic child is running around at. Why does he need a gun? Why does he need a gun to go over there to spend the night with his sister because she can't sleep, although she's a translated being? Why does he have to do that? Why bring a gun? And you know what, folks? I honestly believe that he had the gun the whole time. I don't think he went back in his room and got it and come back. Of course, they didn't think that out because you have to walk back into that room and come back. Why not walk out the front damn door, Alex? Why go back there and get the gun? Why not? I mean, Lori's already left, I guess, or maybe she left right after he was shot. Which is it? Because none of it makes sense because, you know why? Because it was a lying-ass story. That's what it was. The bottom line is this is what I think. I think he came in there. She got him riled up. She left. and Alex was left there holding a gun on him, and when she left, Alex shot and killed him. So that Lori didn't have to see it happen because she don't like to see her handiwork. That's what I think. And then he calls her twice and talks to her on the phone. He shoots him once while Lori's not there. He's not dying. He calls Lori, tells her he's not dead yet, and he shoots him while he's laying on the floor to make sure he's dead. That's about 40 minutes there. And by the way, conspiracy to commit murder, the jury's going to be kind of confused on whether Lori committed a conspiracy to commit murder. Why is she calling 911? Why? If it's not murder, if it was self-defense, why not? Why can't she call 911 immediately? Why can't Alex call 911 immediately? Because he wasn't dead yet. And he had to shoot him twice. And then they had to kind of sit there and gain their composure, get their story straight again. Long enough to either fill Tylee in, or did Tylee know beforehand what the plan was? We will never know. And finally, a specific criminal objective. The agreement must have a clear objective of intentionally killing someone. Well, I can tell you, they intentionally, Alex is it's self-defense. Charles hit him in the head with a bat. His intention on Charles hitting him with a bat is to leave that scrum or whatever, go back in his room. All he had to do was bring the gun back and say, you wait right here, I'm calling 911. You just hit me in the head with a bat. You just committed assault on me. He didn't have to kill him. And according to the forensics there, he wasn't even close to Charles when he pulled the trigger. Nephi is a revered figure in the Book of Mormon who is commanded by God to slay another man, says Duncan on the stand. Why Nephi? Why couldn't it have been, we're going to be like Jesus? We're going to show mercy and love, and we're not going to hurt anyone. We're just going to love everyone like Jesus, or the Holy Spirit, or God, or any of these other characters in the Book of Mormon. Why did it have to be Nephi? You know? Everybody knows, according to Duncan and LDS and Adam and everyone, knows exactly that Nephi was revered for being told by God to kill this wicked man. Well, I'll tell you what. There's enough evidence in there showing the bullshit about Lori talking about he's Ned Schneider, he's evil, he's bad, he's all these things. And then finally, he changed it in March, says Lori, to the little itty-bitty gherkin of Chad Daybell. So it was probably Ned before we got rid of him. Why didn't she say he changed it in March, so it was probably Ned before the accident happened? You know? No, we got rid of him. And what is she talking about? She's talking about life insurance money. Lori had previously used these terms to someone that she believed was possessed. They can't tell me to who, of course, but it's done. Why even bring up the light? It was a terrible accident, huh? A terrible accident. There was no conspiracy to commit murder. Then why all this talk about Nephi and how things are going to be so different? Why didn't that question get asked? When Duncan, of course Duncan couldn't answer that. No one else could answer it because Lori's too much of a coward to get on the stand and explain why things were going to be different. Charles was going to divorce her? This has nothing to do with murder. This has nothing to do with premeditation murder. conspiracy or anything like that, then what was going to be so different? It's all coming to a head this week, says Lord. What's coming to a head? Huh? I'll tell you what's coming to a head here on Monday, y'all. The closing arguments, and if they don't play that body cam of Charles Vallow begging them, she's trying to murder me and stuff, the only explanation I can come up with that the state rested their case and didn't show this body cam of Charles is that it's going to be in the closing argument, and if it's not, then maybe the state left it out because they didn't want jurors to think, well, heck, these law enforcement officers were hearing him say this stuff and they didn't do shit about it. So if they didn't do shit about it, then how can we have confidence in their investigation? Perhaps, y'all. I don't know. Big Stacks, some people think Lori's going to simmer over the weekend and decide to testify. Others think she just doesn't want to lose control on cross-examination. Anna Brown says, I got so upset yesterday, I had to walk away. If the police had done more, Tylee, JJ, Tammy would still be alive. Exactly, Anna Brown. Carolyn A. says, I just posted on East Idaho News and crashes on Twitter X pictures of Lori with socks and slider sandals on her feet, going to Walgreens in anticipation of her pool party and celebration of her. Beautiful Day. His video is considered hearsay because he is no longer with us. He is the victim. It is absolutely relevant. It's absolutely. Through this whole trial, you had witnesses on the stand, the Hancock woman talking about what Charles told her. By God, that is admissible evidence. Charles Vallow's body cam can be admissible because he is the victim. That's my opinion. I cannot believe that Charles Vallow's body cam cannot be put into evidence. They put into evidence Lori going to Walgreens. They put in evidence, the scene with Alex and all of this and that coming out of the house. I can't believe that can't be admitted. Beautiful Day. Was it hearsay when the Hancock woman told everyone what Charles told her? Was it hearsay when Adam Cox talked about what Charles told him? And I'm not talking about just the text messages. Is it hearsay that Kay Woodcock got on the stand and talked about what Charles had told her? And if Mom says if Lori would have went to the police with the same story, there would have been a totally different outcome in this tragedy. Carolyn A. says Lori has a chance to testify up until 10 o'clock. And Sam Willis says, I don't understand why the jury can't know that the only witness was killed by the person accused. Kathy Jones thinks that the body cam footage was left out so that the police department didn't look bad. Hearsay is one of the most difficult things for attorneys to deal with, and judges. Would be wonderful if it was black and white, says Beautiful Day. Right. I mean, maybe you're right. Maybe I'm right. Maybe we're both wrong. Who knows? At this point, I see the relevance, and I see that it could be admitted into evidence. I'm hoping that at least portions of that will be played. What was it? They wanted to admit little sections of Lori's statements in her interview. Well, that would be considered. She could make up a bunch of freaking lies. Well, she did. Of course, she brought up earlier about the truth of the matter asserted and stuff like that. They're just like, I'm not going to go for that. It really comes down to, is the state of Arizona going to allow Charles's voice beyond the grave in that body cam to be displayed in closing arguments? I mean, do they have a rebuttal case? I don't know. Lori's going to say all the 13 witnesses did not see with their eyes, hear with their ears. I expect she will name all 13 and say they did not hear or see. Okay, so, and I agree with that, Donna, because that's her theme throughout. How about this? If you had to actually see it or hear it, how many people would get convicted of murder? You have to go with the evidence that's provided. The judge did say yesterday there was enough there that a reasonable juror could find her guilty. Well, Jay says, I think that the video of Charles will be left out because he's not here to cross-examine, but I could be wrong. Well, he's the victim. He's dead. Alex was dead. How much did the statements... They talked about Alex in the text messages. They talked about Charles in text messages, what Charles was saying. Anna Brown says, was the video from Gilbert, not Chandler? You know, I think it was Chandler, but I could be wrong. Somebody educate KJ. Jill Schneider says it's possible that they could play it in closing, but it can't be brought in as testimony. Great point, Jill. How about this? All right, for those that are kind of like, KJ, it's hearsay. Closing and opening statements are not evidence, are they? Huh? Isn't that part of the jury instructions? It's not evidence. It's not evidence. So it wasn't brought in the state of Arizona's case in chief, but it could be put in a closing statement because that's not evidence. But do you think them jurors are not going to look at him and the look on his face and his tone of voice and think, there you go. Y'all just answered my question. Y'all just answered my question. Yes, they can play that body cam in closing statement because it's not evidence. And by God, if I would say neglect of these prosecutors if they don't do that. She doesn't get a chance to cross-examine or not cross-examine or whatever in a closing statement. She could get up there in her defense closing and say, well, y'all just watch that body cam. And I just want to say that, he was just being so mean to me. He was lying on me. Think about it, y'all. Jill just helped it all click. Thank you, Jill. That's not evidence. Opening and closing statement is not evidence, and by God, they're going to play that body cam. I guarantee it. They got to. That is the most damning thing, y'all. Of all the evidence, and they got good evidence, and she's going to get convicted in my view. I am telling you. Jill just dang slammed it. Jill Schneider says correct, so it can be in the closing, but it can't be evidence. There you go, y'all. You think these jurors are not going to look at that and slam the hammer down on that hooker? I'll tell you what, I'll say it like this. They better damn well do it because Charles Vallow's voice needs to be heard. Pure and simple. Justice for Charles Vallow, y'all. If you're driving the getaway car during a robbery and someone dies, you still get convicted of murder too, right? Lori was driving the getaway car. Good metaphor there. Kathy Jones says, the evidence will show. It sure did. Jay says, God, please hear our prayers that the body cam can be in the closing statement. Y'all, it would be negligence for the state of Arizona not to include it. Because it's not, closing statement is not evidence. And they can do that. They better damn well do it. It's going to seal her fate. Kathy Mama Bear says, insert whiny voice. I didn't do anything. I think they're going to play it, Anna Brown. I just cannot believe they're not going to let that. That's their last image right there of the victim. Scared, concerned, worried, trying to get his wife help. He's not trying to hurt her, be vindictive. He's trying to get help. And he says, she said she was going to murder me with her powers. Y'all know it. Donna says, y'all get some rest and be ready for it on Monday. And we'll be there for difficult research with Cresha K. Easton. My understanding is it can't come in because she's only charged with conspiracy to commit murder. If it was murder, then it could be brought in, but it is hearsay. Well, Carolyn A., it's not evidence. It would be in a closing argument. Closing and opening statements are not evidence, okay? And they can bring that in, pure and simple. And by the way, just like in Idaho and Arizona, conspiracy to commit murder, y'all know it. It's just like you get convicted of conspiracy to, say, steal a candy bar. You didn't actually, you conspired with your friend who actually stole the candy bar, but you get convicted of actually stealing that candy bar. You understand what I'm saying? So, Yeah, they are, Vix Tex. They're wondering about Tylee and JJ. And after this trial's over, they're going to get to see the full meal deal of how evil and diabolical this woman is. Right, Jenny Benny. If even one juror held out, and then after this trial, they saw that she's a serial killer. My Lord. X-File says, yes, the body cam can be seen. One, she is alive. Charles is not. Yes, Kathy Jones, I see it. Why couldn't they get the cop that Charles said it to testify, says Carolyn A. That's a good point. It's a good point. I don't know why. But I'll tell you what, that body cam it can be in a closing or an opening statement. Because that's not evidence. But could a jury member, if a jury member's told, hey, you're fixing to watch this body cam and opening or closing, just for sake of argument. But just remember, this is not evidence that you can consider, right? You think they can't consider that even though, they're sitting there looking at the victim, talking, saying everything that they're saying. You think it should be just like when Lori's been trying to testify on and off through all her questioning. Even though the judge is telling the jury members, you don't consider that. She's not supposed to testify. It's already out there. It's already out there. Kathy Mama Bear says, I would love it if the state finished with Charles's video and walked back to their seat. That would be all that would be needed, y'all. Could it be that, Donna, that the state of Arizona has a rebuttal case and bring in that police officer who was wearing that body cam? See, people are forgetting closing statements that the state, after the state goes, then Lori goes, they can do a rebuttal case if they want. They can do a rebuttal case before Monday, I guess. I mean, like on Monday, they could say we have a rebuttal case, but I don't guess they will. Yeah, I think, ultimately, y'all, everyone that cares for this victim and his family and all that would love to see his body cam. We've already watched it, we know that, but just to know that these jury members were watching that, I think it would give a level of justice to Charles Vallow's name and who he was as a man, because it wasn't just about him saying she's trying to murder me. He was showing the attributes of a beautiful, loving soul. He was worried about her. She's threatening to kill him, and all he's trying to do is get her help. Well, Donna, unfortunately, as far as I know, other than I think there's been a couple of pictures, they saw the medical examiner pictures of Charles, and that's what they see. But we all know in that body cam that he showed a loving, caring husband, father. He was so worried about the kids, Donna. That's right. See Charles with their eyes and hear him with their eyes. Boom, says Jenny Benny. In a spiritual way, says Donna. Yes. If the prosecution needs to humanize Charles, let's hope they do it, says Sam Willow. Yes. Yeah, they did, Vic's text. The Cox family there, all of them. That's my opinion. We know we have our angels, Charles, JJ, Tylee, and Tammy there with us to put her under the prison. Says Anna Brown. Since the judge said there was enough evidence to convict her, I feel the cam won't be needed, says the X-Files. Yes, exactly. Exactly, Jenny Benny. We've had enough of the hussy and her BS. Hi, Liam. All right, y'all. So, I guess, Donna, are you going to be opening up a stream for the jury instructions today? Or is that a no-go? Will you let me know in the comments before I close out this live stream? Hi, Teresa K. Teresa K says, I pray that the jury gets this right, sending love and prayers. Vic's text says, Joe Ryan has got to feel some vindication. Kathy Jones says, as Kresha would say, Holy Spirit activate. Okay, so remember, y'all, when I see the thumbnail, Donna, I'll post it on the community wall. That's where I'm going to hop over there. I know jury instructions are so out there, huh? But hi, Madam August Butterfly. Hope you have a great day. It's difficult research, y'all, with Kresha K. Easton. And Sis wants to be a detective, which is Donna. So anyway, I love all of y'all. Thank you, Hope Grace and Kathy Mama Bear and Just Me and others that have helped mod. I really appreciate it. This is so that we can all get together and do a little porch talk before the day starts. I've got some really, really good ideas for some satirical nonsense skits by Canyon Jam. So be looking, y'all. Probably over the weekend, the hooker's going to make another appearance, y'all. I love all of y'all. Thank y'all for everything that y'all have commented about. Taking your precious time to hang out either here or Difficult Research or other social media platforms to show your support for Charles Vallow and their family. And just know that I love you. I hope all of y'all have a great rest of the week. I guess it's hitting the weekend, y'all. And Leanne Forsberg says, thanks, mods. And thank all of y'all for just being you. You being the only you're ever going to be. And I'm excited to know you and call you my friend. So have a great day, y'all. Have a good one. And keep on looking.